no, if he considers me to be a viable opponent, this should be something I should take a look at. So my wife and I seriously started to pray about this decision. I contacted that group and I told them I want 2 weeks to make the decision. We prayed about it. Now, I'm a pro-life individual. I believe that life begins at the moment of conception. 2 weeks had gone by and I had not made a decision, and I knew I had to call them the next day to let them know what my final decision was. God works in mysterious ways. When we came home, there was a message, one of those automated machine deals on our answer machine, about a bill that was being pushed through the House of Representatives, the infanticide bill. How many of you are familiar with the infanticide bill? Keep in mind, this is our legislature who has bills like this working its way through subcommittees and committees. The infanticide bill was a bill that would have minimized to 2 years in jail a woman that killed her child up to its first birthday by reason of medical issues. And I think everyone here is intelligent enough to where if you find a good psychiatrist, they can find some kind of reason that there's a medical issue. Well, when I heard that bill, I recognized I have got to do something. I've got to run for office. So I made the decision to do it. Now, Brian McCall, this is key. How many of you are familiar with the Gang of 11? I mean, it almost sounds like a country western movie, if it wasn't so frightening. Because that's how Joe Straus took his position as Speaker of the House. Gang of 11. We had a conservative Speaker in the House. They say that he was uncompromising. I say he was a conservative fighting for conservative values and principles. So the Gang of 11 rhinos got together and decided, you know what? We can push him out if we get the Democrats to vote with us. This is taking place in the middle of the night in someone's home. And that's exactly what they did. They went and they found the Democrats to vote with the Gang of 11 to take out a conservative Speaker of the House and install Joe Straus. Now you got to remember something about Joe Straus. Of the Gang of 11, he was, everyone agreed, the weakest of the group. So he was selected because there were so many various personalities, power profiles of that Gang of 11, they could not come to a consensus as to which of those it should be. So they picked Joe Straus. Theoretically, easy to manipulate. But what did they do to get Joe Straus to get the support from the Democratic Party? They negotiated. What would they negotiate? They would negotiate away legislation that the conservatives of the state of Texas would want and the Democrat rhinos would not. So, bills such as voter ID, killed. The sonogram bill. Now, these are bills that Rasmussen ran polls in the state of Texas and found over 75% of the population wanted these bills, voter ID. This is a common sense bill. If we do not have the right or the means to justify, to guarantee that the individuals that are voting in our elections, we have lost our state and we will lose our nation. It's a sovereignty issue. For the Democrats to push back against a voter ID bill is, I believe, a very unpatriotic act. The sonogram bill, everyone wanted that. That's simply a bill to allow a woman that's considering to have an abortion to have a sonogram so that she can see that baby. Simple as that. Now, those are just two bills that they negotiated away. And of course, they negotiated away all of the illegal alien bills as well. No illegal alien bills. And we had some common sense illegal alien bills that needed to be heard. One of them was a bill that would help us to analyze how much money is being spent on illegal alien services in the state of Texas. Now, everyone here knows that we are facing a major deficit this session. Now it's $25 billion. At first it was 15, then it went to 19, now it's 25. I don't think we even know what the deficit is as a population. because they're meeting behind closed doors regarding the budget. So there was a bill that was introduced that said, just tell us how much money we're spending on illegal aliens, because we know it's a big chunk of money. Common knowledge stipulates that there's approximately $8 billion being spent on illegal aliens. Some say it could be double that number. So when we're looking at a $25 billion deficit here in the state of Texas, and there's an opportunity for us to get our arms around how much we're spending on illegal aliens, doesn't it make sense that that would be a bill that should be passed, and the representatives, our representatives, would want that bill to go forward to save us from having a revenue issue this session? It does to me, but it didn't to them. Not to the Democrats, not to the 11 rhinos. So where are we today? This is where things get very interesting. And the longer I've been involved in the aspect of the speakership, and the more I have learned, the dirtier it gets. Much dirtier than you could ever imagine. The politics that are being played behind closed doors on the speakership issue would make your hair curl. I'm serious about this. Joe Straus is tied in to the lobbyists and to the special interest groups. And they do not want to lose that power base. This is what's different, though. A year and a half ago, Liberty Institute, Kelly Shackelford's organization, filed a lawsuit against the state of Texas. The lawsuit stipulated that the fact that we as citizens had no impact or a say about the speakership was unconstitutional, a free speech issue. They won that case. So this election is key for us for two reasons. Number one, because the Tea Party has power. And for the first time, grassroots conservatives have impact, not only here in Texas, but across the country. So we have impact as to what's taking place. And number two, we can have impact on our state representatives. So what happened? Election night. They anticipated that we would pick up perhaps 2 conservative new seats. As the night progressed, they thought 10 conservative seats. Before the night was over, and we picked up 22 conservative seats, Joe Straus sent out a press release in the middle of the night. That's how politics works. The last day of last session, Straus had an event, and he had all the representatives come in and sign a pledge card. Pledge card. Now, they claim it means nothing. It's a formality. But the middle of the night, they sent a press release to the media identifying each of the representatives that signed that pledge card to lock them in, because Joe Straus recognizes that with this conservative movement within the state of Texas, the chance of him being reelected in a legitimate, true, up or down, secret ballot is null and void. He will lose. How did I get involved? I ran against Brian McCall because he spearheaded the Gang of 11. I lost the election. But the Texas Conservative Coalition, which is a group of conservatives within the legislative body, came to me and said, Wayne, how would you like to spearhead an effort to unseat Joe Straus? Well, you know, I thought, it's something maybe I should take a look at. After all, it was a logical next progression for me to do it, and I'm only trying to do the right thing. When I ran for office, I did not run as a politician. I ran as a patriotic statesman. And we ran our campaign that way. Honestly, I spoke the truth, and we ran a truth and faithful campaign. When Brian stepped down as a result of our campaign, 4 months into it, a Tea Party campaign, 2 other people got into the race. One was handpicked by Brian McCall, and then another individual who is now in the seat. So the night when I did not win the primary, I looked at my wife and I said, you know, we didn't win, but we won. Because when I prayed earlier, I mentioned I prayed about this, I realized what I heard was, Wayne, unseat Brian McCall. I never heard